1 in every 3 women in the United States fall victim to sexual assault between the ages of 11 and 17. Sexual assault is a topic that many people choose to avoid because it's a very daunting and intimidating topic. And since it's so daunting and intimidating, people don't talk openly about it, and it causes a lot of sexual assault cases to be dismissed or shrugged off as if it wasn't worth anyone's time. Because this advertisement uses the power held by male celebrities to bring awareness and fight the issue of sexual assault, it's extremely valuable. I personally feel that this commercial instills hope in the nation for me because I can see that the brilliant use of ethos, pathos, and logos between these clips of the commercial and the men involved in the commercial is fantastic. It's used wonderfully. Overall, women cannot possibly overcome the fight of sexual assault alone, which means that this problem needs to be fought with the help of everyone, including men. To start, the subject of this commercial was sexual assault and the prevention of it. And then the whole entire saying or the slogan is that one is too many, as in like one, the number one, is too many. It's a catchy slogan, so it does help with the idea of fighting against it. The objective of this commercial is that women are being sexually assaulted every day, continuously. It doesn't stop. And there's a point where we as Americans need to step up and fight against it. And that's what they're trying to get at here. The audience is all people, but specifically, I think that the audience can receive things in a different way. So, as how I took it was that the audience could be a person who has thought about sexually assaulting someone, seeing this commercial and realizing, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Or this commercial could be towards people who have witnessed sexual assault and haven't said anything, or need to be prepared to say something if they were to witness an event. And I'd say it also goes to people who have been sexually assaulted before, because that gives them the power to step forward and to take charge on this topic and not let it just be brushed off. So I feel like this, all around, it's an audience for everyone, but I feel like it can point at different people individually. The purpose of the commercial is 100% to bring awareness towards the issue of sexual assault with women. It makes it very evident what sexual assault is and what is considered sexual assault and what is not, i.e., if you don't have consent, it is rape, it's a crime, and it can happen to anyone, and it needs to end. That is basically the whole entire purpose, is that it needs to stop, it happens to everyone, and it's a crime. You cannot do it. The speaker of this commercial overall is the American government. They put on this commercial, but the speakers and the characters in the commercial, I don't know everyone's name because I'm not super great with famous people, but there's many famous people in the commercial, including Steve Carell, President Joe Biden, former President Barack Obama, and they just, when you see a familiar face like that, it sticks out because there's someone that you're supposed to trust and that you're supposed to love. So those are the speakers of this commercial. There's a couple more in there, but I didn't recognize who they were. The context is basically that we as a nation need to step forward and stop allowing sexual assault to be brushed under the rug, and that women have the right to feel safe and protected when they go outside their home from sexual predators, and they shouldn't have to worry about whether they're going to be touched or anything towards them. The context, I feel like, also leans towards the fact that it happens to everyone. There's a point in the commercial where they talk about, like, your wives, your sisters, your daughters. It happens at schools, it happens at bars, it happens at a lot of places. And so I feel like the context is also filling our heads with the fact that this happens all the time and it is present in our lives. Whether it's present in yours right now or not, it's going to be, because it doesn't go away. Overall, the ethos in this commercial was booming from the beginning. First of all, started off with a bunch of famous people. I don't even know a lot of famous people, and I knew the people in this commercial. Some of them, and so you get stand-up people like a president of the United States. Yes, people are going to respect him. They're going to trust him. You have the former president of the United States. People have trusted him. They know who they are. They know that they know what's best and try to do what's best for our country and for our people. And so including those two specific public figures was an absolutely outstanding ethos incorporation into this commercial. Another one was Steve Carell. I mentioned that I knew him, and specifically what stood out for me with him is that he's usually a comedian and he's usually a funny guy that people look to for in movies and TV shows, but all of a sudden he shows up and he's serious and he's talking about a very serious topic, and you can't help but notice that he's being serious. Oh my gosh, he's not being funny. I should probably listen to this. And so I feel like adding him specifically, a comedian, an actor, funny guy, and putting such a serious topic on his shoulders was a really good idea and really made me pay attention that he's not being funny. He's trying to get my attention. Let's see where I'm at. Oh, another example of ethos in this paper or in this commercial is that these are all men. Every single actor in this commercial is a man. And there's black men and there's white men and there's people on the streets and there's people in movie studios and there's all these different scenes that instill that you're included in this and that it's not just for celebrities. It's not just for, people who go to coffee houses. It's not just for people who work on movie sets. It's for everybody. And so making that a very inclusive environment instills trust to who I'm listening to. The end of the commercial leaves the website for the White House and this whole one is too many foundation, and that adds credibility right there. It's a real thing. It has a web address. You can check them out. You can research them. They have an entire program going for it. It is what's going on. It is what's fighting against this. Okay, and then I think this could go for more than one thing, and I will be using it for more than one thing, but specifically, they start pointing out, they as in the actors, start pointing out that if they witnessed any sort of sexual assault, that they would point it out, that they would stand up for it, that they would not blame the woman for it, that they would make sure that she's okay, and that they would make sure that they try and fight against it. And I think hearing that as a woman definitely added to the credibility of the men, because I knew right away that they were about the right thing. They were going to be supportive. They were going to stand up to what they were going to talk about in the commercial, and having little snippets of each man saying, I would stand up for them, I would help them, makes me feel more comfortable with the fact that they're on my side. They're against sexual assault. Moving on to pathos. Pathos starts from the very beginning of this commercial with the words, we have a big problem and we need your help. And this right there grabbed my attention because it was like, oh, he needs my help. There's a problem. I need to help. And so from the first sentence, it's, okay, I'm piqued. The interest is piqued to all viewers of this commercial. Then the commercial goes on to give more added hints because the next actor, it flashes to the next screen, and they go, it happens here, it happens here, it involves these people. It gives me more hints as to what's going on, which also keeps my attention because now I'm listening. Now I'm interested in what I need to help with. Then when you hear these hints, you start thinking, oh, okay, well, this is something I could probably help with. It's specifically in schools, in bars, in college campuses. It involves your mother. It involves your sisters, your daughters, your friends, all of these things that you care about and that you've experienced. And then all of a sudden they throw at you that it's about sexual assault prevention. And that's when it's the booming moment where you're instilled with fear that this would happen to someone that you know or that you care about. And all of a sudden your head is filled with this emotion of, well, I need to help too because I don't want that to happen to my wife, to my friends, to my daughters. And that fear can be carried a very long way. Next, the location of the set and the outfits that they're wearing. Specifically, like the first scene, wide empty room, kind of just plain walls. There's one picture. He's sitting in a very small chair. It feels like a one-on-one conversation. It feels like each person that the camera flashes to, you're only talking to them. You're only listening to them. And so that makes you feel serious. It made me feel serious. The location was in places that I have never been or I've never seen, and in places that I've seen all the time. So one example of that would be there is a scene of President Joe Biden in the White House. I have never seen the White House, but I have seen a staircase on the street where another scene was. That tells me that even though Joe Biden is as serious as he is, and he's the president, that he has all of this going on, and yet a guy on the street sitting on the sidewalk can still talk about the same thing. So that adds the emotional appeal of the seriousness. The lighting and music, the lighting is a bit eerie, and I feel like it has very dark edges on the outside, so it keeps your focus to the center of the commercial. The camera angles, it flashes from like statement and sentence to the next statement and sentence and so on and so on. And so I think that the snippets of that commercial keeps your attention longer, and it makes it so that, oh, the next guy's speaking, who I should listen. Oh, the next guy's speaking. It doesn't carry on with one person, and I feel like it definitely captures the attention of viewers much longer than it would if it was just a single person. Logos, specifically, in the quote, if I saw it happening, I'd speak up. If I saw it happening, I'd never blame her. I'd help her. Because I don't want to be a part of the problem. I want to be a part of the solution. This part of the commercial is super important. It's establishing the, if I were you, this is what I'd do. If I were in this case, this is what I'd do. It makes the viewer know that this is wrong. It's wrong to let this slide. And hearing that from famous people, of course, you have the credibility behind it, but then to hear it and then go, I would too. You know, no one wants to be different. And so knowing that other people would step up instills that you should step up if you see something happening. Continuing with pathos, specifically at the beginning when he goes, it's happening on college campuses, at bars, parties, and even high schools. It's a wake-up call. It's saying, wake up, America. This is happening everywhere, and it's a problem, and that this message cannot be overlooked anymore because it's happening in your hometown. It's happening in your cities. It wants us to wake up and recognize that this isn't just a common sense thing. It's you need to step up and do it because no one else is doing it. At the end, President Biden says it's about respect, it's about responsibility. And this, I believe, is a perfect example of how Logos is instilled into this commercial, because all of a sudden all these things that we're just told to do and we're just told to know and we're supposed to prevent, all of a sudden it turns into it's about respect. You need to respect one another. It's common sense to respect one another and to be responsible. And it's a key part of succeeding in life, is being respectful and responsible. And so when these two qualities that everyone searches for, respect and responsibility, are added to the table, it adds to the seriousness and the logical part of this argument. I think that each effect was applied beautifully. From the beginning of the commercial, I knew I was going to like it. I knew I was intrigued. I knew it's something that I could relate to because I'm a woman. And I chose this commercial on purpose because it did speak out to me. But knowing that I watched this commercial not thinking that it would be necessarily all men or involve such crazy famous characters or something like that, and then realizing that all these men are standing up for someone like me, I'm a woman, I can relate to this, and every aspect of the commercial was very well done. Something that I maybe would have changed was maybe adding the names of all the characters in there and like kind of what they do, almost like a documentary where, Steve Carell, famous comedian, actor, something like that, because something I didn't like was that I didn't know who all of them were, and that I wish I did, because shout out to them for being part of this. But overall, especially ethos, it was used incredibly well. Sorry about my alarm. Specifically, one of my favorite parts of this commercial was that it was all men. That's really cool, because you see all these things about, female power, we can get through this, but it's not about that. It's about getting through it as a nation and as Americans and moving forward instead of, I'm a guy, so I don't have to worry about it, or I'm a girl, so I always have to worry about it. It's coming together, and it brings that entire idea of togetherness into this fight, into the role of everyone's lives versus just women or just whoever. It's very inclusive, and I love that. Overall, this commercial does a brilliant job of displaying what the argument is for in a very straightforward way. The most interesting part of this commercial, I would say, is the fact that you don't expect it to be about sexual assault, and that it kind of leads you on thinking that you need to help with a different topic, but it's not. 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted and are victims, specifically between the ages of 11 and 17. This is not okay. This topic cannot be overlooked anymore. It needs to be brought up. It needs to be talked about. So the big question is, are you going to be a part of the problem, or are you going to be a part of the solution?